It is like saying that, you are having a cold every time I talk to you, so I'm going to chop off your head. Hey, listen, I want to ask you, have you been to Mahabalipuram in India ever?
No, actually, no.
The ruins of Machu Picchu,
Why?
or
No,
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 have you
I
been there?
haven't. No, I
No, I was
haven't.
just trying to imagine, the other day when I read the news, I think about 50 years from now, Silicon Valley will look like the ruins of Machu Picchu and, uh, Mahabalipuram.
I knew there was a sting in the tail.
Yeah, because it's what, I mean, everything that is happening today, everything, I think is essentially to, essentially clear out Silicon Valley, okay, and make it look like a ruin, you know. I think 50 years is too long. Maybe, I mean, if they have it their way, it'll probably happen in the next 20 years.
Yeah, actually, you made a very interesting point, and in fact, I can run some slides if you want, just for the, uh, so that the viewers get a better understanding. Because this is a very, very complex topic. For instance, just the lawsuit filed against Facebook was around 120 pages, if
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah, yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, yeah.
The one which has been filed against Google by 38 states, uh, that is also a huge one. I think more than 100 pages.
So
The
is this
one,
the only place where they are non-partisan? They're bipartisan.
yeah, this is a bipartisan one, the 38 states. And the interesting part is, if you remember, in October, uh, the lawsuits were filed against all the four companies: Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple. Now, that
Right.
was a 449-page report. If you see this headline, I have actually taken this from the article that you had written for the CXO
Yeah,
today, Silicon
yeah,
Valley
I can
Under
see that.
Threat. So
I
you had
can see
written that
that.
comprehensive article, and we had a very interesting discussion. So we discussed this Facebook part, and just so that the viewers know, 48 US states filed two lawsuits against the company. The allegation was that the US FTCs had accused Facebook of eliminating competition, and that's the usual stuff
And the
that they
same
come up with.
FTC is the same FTC which had approved the deal.
Absolutely. And as
Yeah.
even last time when we had this discussion, we both agree that FTC is anything but the poster boy of morality, because
I
we
mean,
remember what they
yeah,
did with net neutrality.
exactly, exactly. I mean, that's what beats me, I mean, so when the FTC approved the rule, did they expect that, okay, Facebook, go ahead and acquire WhatsApp, and you must fail, because if you succeed, we're going to come after you. Is that the message that that is getting conveyed? Because
Yeah, but you're actually right, in a way, because this is exactly the objection that even the companies are raising. They're saying, where were you when you sealed the deal? Why didn't you raise those objections when you sealed the deal? So that was exactly what they were talking about. And if you look now, this time a bipartisan coalition of 38 states and territories have filed an antitrust lawsuit against Google. The allegation is that Google holds a monopoly in general search, which again is an allegation that has been repeated.
that's that's damn insulting to Microsoft. Yeah, I mean, Microsoft with Bing will be seething. Say, I mean, what's happening to us? You guys are officially now telling the world that we don't matter.
And this is actually the third antitrust suit filed against Google in just a matter of weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
And
so that's what is surprising to me. I mean, you are going after Google, you're going after Facebook, you're going after Amazon, you're going after Apple, and the justification that you have is that the consumer is getting affected, but I don't see any consumer groups coming and joining the litigation. I don't
yeah,
see any
actually,
class action lawsuits.
that's a very interesting point that you have made, actually, because here also this is a 450-page report. You're seeing they're calling for the restructuring of these companies, dismembering, as you said earlier, also. And this has been a common refrain.
Look, they
I
have
don't know
been
what's
trying to
going on.
do that. They tried to do that with IBM. After
Yes.
13 years, they dropped the lawsuit saying that, we don't have anything against. They
True.
tried to do that against Microsoft, right? After 11 years, it was a little rap on the knuckles, and then Microsoft said, yeah, yeah, fine. But they did nothing. They did absolutely. And by then, Netscape was anyway finished.
Correct.
What I'm trying to understand is that what is the impetus? Are there allegations from consumer groups? Because see, US is a litigious country, right? And if there are indeed consumers who have been affected, by now they would have been sued. The consumer groups would have sued each one of the companies. Like look at the tobacco companies, look at the pharma companies. They're getting sued by consumer groups.
You have the ACLU and bodies like the ACLU and all.
Yeah.
Have time and again come up with these allegations, and which are very, very similar. Like if you look at the allegations against Apple, it is same about, if I can just summarize this entire thing into monopoly. Okay. And they have quoted Steve Jobs saying that we have always been shameless about stealing great ideas. Now,
come now. That is being childish. Exactly. That is being childish. I mean, I also saw one statement. Yeah, I saw a statement from Google, from one of this about. Yeah, they said that we saw that Facebook had in an internal memo had written that they are competition, so let us acquire them so that there is less competition. Every entrepreneur makes that kind of a statement.
Exactly.
Are you going to use that as an evidence?
And you can't pull these things out of context. Sometimes I think all these things have been said in various fora. So to pull things out of context also may be a little unfair. Like you look at the allegations against Amazon, it's similar. Same, that third-party sellers and all. You look against the allegations against Google, same. Allegations against Facebook, similar.
I mean, there is rhetoric, there is jingoism, and there is facts. What appears to me is that a lot of these allegations are essentially anecdotal. They're not evidentiary in nature. And there is a huge mood, big boy, let's kill them, let's kill innovation. They are killing innovation. WhatsApp got acquired for 19 billion. My point is, why did WhatsApp sell? If there was such a big deal about innovation, why did WhatsApp sell for $19 billion? And by the way, the cash component of 19 billion is only 4 billion.
Correct.
Everything else was stock. Okay. But let's assume for a minute it is 19 billion. If WhatsApp had not gotten the kind of muzzle that Facebook gave it, then would WhatsApp have grown? Entrepreneurs do transactions to grow their company. Now that seems to be a crime.
So if you see actually some of the reactions from the tech giants, they've said the same thing. They think basically that we have built these companies. Like when Facebook, what you actually said, like Facebook said that, okay, I have enhanced the offering of WhatsApp, of Instagram, because data is the new oil, whichever way you look at it today. And today it's because these companies can make the connection. Yes, there are clearly the security concerns, there are clearly the privacy concerns, and we have to look at it very, very minutely. And I do feel that these pulls and pressures are important. But, sometimes I feel that this whole thing about monopoly, raising it time and again is like flogging a dead horse. It's not getting us anywhere.
It is so here is my take. I think that, see, I can understand the spat between Facebook and Apple. Okay. And I can also understand the fact that these guys have, committed errors of judgment, right? For example, in Cambridge Analytica, for example, they were fined $5 billion, right? And to me, that's fair. You make a mistake, rub them on the knuckles, fine them heavily, right? It is like saying that, you are having a cold every time I talk to you, so I'm going to chop off your head. You are not curing the problem. You're actually accentuating the problem.
And I guess there's some amount of really clear, that as long as you're the company that is small and you don't pose a threat to other governments, kind of everybody is quiet about it. And it's like startups. It's like the startup scenario in India. As long as you are a startup, everybody wants you to succeed. But the moment you become a Flipkart, the moment you become an Amazon, the moment you become, you get out of the garages and you become trillion-dollar companies, then everybody gets threatened. Because, for instance, if you look at these four companies, the combined market cap is around $5.5 trillion. if you look at the four countries, if you look at the GDP, whether US, China, Japan, Germany, and all, their combined GDP would be around 50 trillion, uh, approximately. So
So it's a
if you
non-trivial percentage.
exactly, so I think it's important for the entire ecosystem. It has to thrive. There has to be something. You cannot keep on flogging a dead horse. We need to move on. Otherwise, uh, I mean, I remember what Bill Gates said. We did mention it even last time during our talk, that he's saying that much of the innovation at Microsoft was stalled. I'm just paraphrasing, because of all these hiccups, the legal hiccups. I just
No, no,
hope that we're not throwing
it
the
is
baby with the
true.
water.
It is true. If you look at IBM, see, all said and done, IBM has been around for more than 100 years, right? But every time there is a antitrust or a Justice Department investigation, right? It does hurt the company because there's an enormous amount of leadership, mind share that goes into battling that rather than, doing what the company ought to be doing, right? Now, my submission is that IBM at one point in time was supposed to be a monopoly. Microsoft was at one time supposed to be a monopoly. Where are they today? IBM is another company, great company, good company, but it's another company. It's no longer a monopoly, right? It itself sold its laptop business, its hardware business. Now it is breaking itself into two. Okay, that's a management decision to serve their customers, their environment, their constituencies better. Now, if all that you're going to achieve is that you're going to make Facebook another company, it won't have the kind of innovations, right? Let us face it that the society has changed, completely, inevitably, for good or bad, but it has changed because of innovations like Facebook and WhatsApp and Insta and so on and so forth. Are you going to reverse it?
No, clearly there has to be some amount of regulation, but you can't throw the baby with the bathwater. And I think we're
Regulation,
very
I
clear
don't think
about that. Yeah.
anybody is questioning regulation.
Yeah. They're just saying, okay, it has to be reasonable. But I think, again, we can always speak about this topic endlessly. So let's move on to the other topic that we had in mind. And I think, it's the whole cyber war kind of stuff. I know many people on the internet, there are researchers who sort of find the word cyber war pretty abhorrent. They said it doesn't even exist because sometimes for the cyber war, you need to do some kind of a physical harm to a person, which
I
it's
don't think
not really,
so.
yeah,
I
it's not
don't
very
think
true
so.
because ransomware can actually break your financial spine.
I just read some report from somewhere saying that it is a small companies. 40% of the cyber attacks are on small companies with less than 500 people in the US. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
uh, to me, that's interesting because why would anybody bother to look at a company which is got less than 500 people? The reason is that it's at the end of the day, it's data. Data is gold dust.
Our friends are wondering why have we chosen cyber war as one of the topics. It's basically because of the SolarWinds case.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting part is that the SolarWinds as a company has it has the CDC Center for Disease and Prevention as one of its customers. There are
Yeah,
many other
seriously.
government customers. So there's a lot of organization, and typically the governments. The experts say that this is an attack on the US state. And I think Russia has been the one of the allegations is that
Accused.
Russia is
Accused,
one
yeah.
of the accused. But Trump, I think, tweeted saying that nobody wants to take the name China.
Whether it came from Russia, China, that's not really the issue. The issue is that you are vulnerable. You
Correct.
know, you are extremely vulnerable, and your data is vulnerable, and and this is going to lead to an enormous amount of financial loss to you.
Correct.
Yeah, there you have it. I mean, it's
Yeah, these are the figures. That it's an over $1 trillion drag on the global
yeah,
economy.
absolutely. Yeah,
So I was like looking at these numbers. I said, "Wow!" And these are like by CSIS and McAfee, and it has just been released this month.
yeah. Okay.
So
And
Pretty
interestingly,
interesting.
India is the third largest cyber attack prone country in the world.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
You know,
yes, yes. Very
and the
much
best
so.
part is we seem to have a very blasé attitude towards it. The good thing is that the government, I think, a few months ago came with this very clear, notifications in terms of for TSPs as to who they can buy from, trusted provider, and so on and so forth. But I think cybercrime goes much beyond that. I mean, I don't think the equipment is really the big issue there.
No, in fact, actually, interestingly, even during Stuxnet, if you remember the Stuxnet
Yeah,
virus, okay, now that was just inserted in a thumb drive, and that was not a network world. Today, you have IoT devices, billions of IoT
absolutely.
devices. You have artificial intelligence, which is going to create havoc. AI and IoT is a very formidable force. These tools in a network world, I mean, a thumb drive will look like a absolutely like some kind of an apology for the
I
virus.
can I can always I can even now just imagine the next James Cameron movie. Your water cooler is attacking you. Because when you have IoT, is so rampant. The amount of data that is going to get
Yes.
transferred within your home, and each equipment is going to be vulnerable to cyber attack. And
Yeah,
that is what we need
absolutely.
to be, kind of worried about.
Yeah, and the
But I
interesting
remember, I
part
think
is
2018 or thereabouts, there was a cyber attack on Cosmos Bank in India, you
oh
know,
yes,
and at that time, almost about 100 crores was, they had a loss. Interestingly, out of that, only 15% or 15 crores was, hacking into the Swift network. The balance was essentially hacking into the ATM machines and siphoning of the money.
yes.
And this happened quite some time ago, right? So companies have kind of tried to, gear up their systems, but we just have to remember that the hacker is one step ahead of us all the time.
Always, always. And if you remember, because you have been on the shop floor of Coimbatore and all these places, so you know exactly how PLCs work. Now, if you
Exactly.
remember, the Stuxnet virus was actually altering the program of the PLC.
PLC,
And,
yeah.
so basically it was destroying industrial equipment. And of course, it did impact the nuclear plant, which I think Russia till date we have no idea whether it was the US or not, because Russia has really no country will come out in the open and
Admit.
say
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Will ever
So
admit it, yeah.
never. But for that I have some interesting facts. If, for those who say that there is no cyber war out here, these are,
Mhm.
I'm going to put out some numbers by the CSIS. Now they
Mhm.
have been tracking, they have documented hundreds of cases for the
Mhm.
last 15 years, like since 2006. So
Mhm.
yeah, if you look at these examples,
Mhm.
November, the US Cyber Command and NSA launched cyber operations against Iran. Hamas allegedly used a secret headquarters in Turkey to launch cyber attacks and counterintelligence on Israel. Suspected Chinese government hackers conducted a espionage from 2018 to 2020, targeting government organizations in Southeast Asia. They are not mentioning any names. We all know the names. Uh, then you look at the other ones. Now, this December, this is the one we started the conversation
Yeah.
with on SolarWinds. Look at what Microsoft President Brad Smith says. He said this is not espionage as usual, even in the digital age. Instead, it represents an act of recklessness that created a serious technological vulnerability for the US and the world.
That's saying a
Interesting.
lot. That's
Absolutely.
saying a
And
lot.
how did he come to this conclusion? Is simply because Microsoft provides the Defender. So
Yeah.
all those guys who came onto the Defender software, they were tracked, and that's how they came to the conclusion. It's a very, very interesting thing. And this is what basically what we are talking about, how AI can actually do the stuff. Because billions of devices are going to be connected. As you said, your water killer can attack you. That's the good. I know we will be criticized saying that the media always sensationalizes things, but that's not true. There are no standards in the IoT devices as of now. It's
Exactly.
always a lack of standardization, even in data, lack of standardization even in IoT devices, lack of standardization in many, many areas from the ecosystem point of view. So there are those, we have a serious kind of case out here. And I think governments need to get their acts together.
Absolutely. See, one is passing the law. The second is enforcing it. Now, whether it's Stuxnet or subsequently, what gets the visibility and the oxygen of publicity is the fact that the attacks took place. I think what we also need is some kind of narrative from the government to say that this is what happened and this is what we have done and we are prosecuted. Now, I have not seen too many instances of these guys actually being caught. I'm sure many of them are getting caught, but we should probably publicize that and say, you do this, you're getting caught, and this should be treated as a white collar crime.
Yeah, I think the problem out here is that many companies don't register complaint because of the brand reputation.
Brand reputation.
The hit that they take on the reputation to the brand, which actually should not be the case, because I think it should be. It's a very valid point, because I've been talking to quite a few of these banks, and especially banks. The BFSI sector is very, very sensitive to cyber.
Absolutely.
So I think there's so many cases, but it's a hush-hush affair. And if any media outlet does publicize it or gets hold of what exactly is happening over there, they'll try to say, okay, fine, we have recovered the money and everything is solved, hunky-dory. But at no given point in time do they
that is not a solution.
No, that's not. That's exactly the
That's
point.
not a solution.
What are you doing about the systems?
Exactly. And I think just as you have an SFIO, the Serious Fraud Investigation Office, I think there is a cyber crime cell which is there in every city, right? Yeah. And I think they have to become empowered. They have to become empowered to proactively go and investigate, right? It is because it's a crime. It is a crime. It's not a tort. It's not something that is happening in one individual. Okay, it's a crime, which means that you are doing it against public, right? And you have to, take proactive recognition of it. See, companies will try and, guard their brand and brush it under the carpet and, think that, okay, never happened or we've got the money. But the fact is that if they attack you today, they could attack somebody else tomorrow.
I think in this particular context, I think the big companies clearly have IT cells. They have been taking a lot of care. Big banks, for that matter of fact, also take care. It's not that there aren't any cybercrime. Because
Absolutely.
I think the bigger you are, you attract more attention. And hackers also pride themselves in breaching your security. So that security breaches are bound to happen. But you will have defense. Your IT will at least be prepared, which most companies aren't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they are not ready.
So what is interesting perhaps is what governments are doing now. For instance, you have CSIS, you have NATO's department doing a lot of stuff, and they have got a program called Locked Shields. So they have a blue team, they have a red team. So you have the member states are the blue team, they comprise the blue team. You have the red teams that actually create a simulated attack with virtualized servers, thousands of virtualized servers. They have done it they did it even last year. France emerged as the winner. So the team from France. Mm-hmm. So there's a very interesting thing where the
I think that's what I'm saying.
And a blue
red team attack, blue team defense. Yeah, it's a classic gaming, gamification of the whole.
Yeah. So a lot of these kind of things need to happen. Israel does a lot of stuff.
Israel, they are. So I would be interested really to know what we are doing in India, because clearly there is a lot of activity that is happening. There's a lot of conversations I hear from the government side. Okay, but I'm not sure whether the Indian corporate sector, is fully aware of the degree of vulnerability that they are in.
Oh, I think they're fully aware. It's not that they're not aware. It's that they don't, and even if they're doing something about it, they do it in a hush-hush fashion. As I said, for them, the brand reputation really takes precedence over more of the thing. Because I've spoken to countless of these guys, time and again, this has been a common refrain among them. That, it hurts our reputation. So everything is hush hush. Even if they have solved something, they are not going to publicize it. Very extremely difficult to get any data. What
I
we
think
should do, I think,
that's a problem, isn't it? I mean,
it
if
is.
the companies don't admit to having been hacked,
There are no
then how
lessons
are
to be
you?
learned.
Exactly. And that's why I said that the cyber crime cell in states and cities must be empowered to take suo moto, cognizance and actually do an investigation. Now,
Yeah,
never
but
mind if your money has come back.
no, but it doesn't happen. So here, typically, one of the big four consultancy firms will be called in, and everything will be solved, and then they'll try to put up a whole defense infrastructure again and say, okay, fine, we have arrested, all, or we have taken enough precautions so that these kind of breaches will not happen in the future. That's all that is going to be
I
done. That
guess
is
I
if the
guess
breach has come
that's
into the open.
yeah.
Yeah. No, but probably
I
what we'll do is in the upcoming episode when we talk about this, we'll have some security experts onto this so that they
that'll be
can
a good
also
idea.
shed some light.
Yeah.
We will be doing that also. And anything else that before we conclude, any other trends that you've been seeing this week that probably has escaped my
No,
attention?
I think the issue, or there was also this major discussion going on private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, and I got a call yesterday saying that given all the cyber attacks, do you think I really should be on a public cloud? So my answer was, you're safer in a public cloud, because at least those guys know what to do. Because within your company, your CIO is the only guy you can talk to, and he's dependent on the brands, right? At least with a large cloud service provider like the AWS or the Google or any of these guys, they will have far too many companies to worry about. So their protocols will be much more stricter. Excuse me. So he said, no, that's going against the narrative because my data is safe inside my own premises. I said, no, I don't think so. I mean,
hybrid cloud. You have the hybrid clouds. I mean, hybrid clouds seem to be the way to go because we have been talking about edge computing. We have been talking about the similar kind of things. So I think it's safer. I mean, that's a balanced kind of act where you say, okay, fine, a hybrid cloud is probably the safe way to do it.
Because bulk of the security breaches happen through the employees.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether by
always be that inadvertently or deliberately,
right? So I said, what are you going to do? I mean, if your employee is going to breach, right? Then how many protocols are you going to set within your own company, right? And I think that is where it's stumping people. But I guess, like you said, hybrid could be a solution. Some kind of it's kind of halfway house between in-prem and completely public.
Yeah. So let's see how the trends. Let's see how the trends pan out next week. I'm sure we'll have as interesting topics as we have had over the last few weeks, because either the regulators are going to keep us busy, or
I mean,
these kind of breaches are going to keep us busy.
Regulators are going to make our life interesting. It's a sin to be big. It's a sin to succeed.
That's a nice way to put it.
It's the 8 deadly sin.
It reminds me of that book written by E. Schumacher, Small is Beautiful. No, in that particular context, small is beautiful, so that you don't catch the attention of the regulators.
Exactly. Don't come within my eyesight. Otherwise, I'm going to break you up. I don't know how else to deal with you. I'm going to break you up. That's all.
I think it's bad economics. But anyway, on this good note, you have a nice weekend and see you next week.
You too. Yep, let's do that. All right.
Take care, stay safe, and viewers, friends, please stay safe.
All right.
Thank you. Dear friends, thank you for being part of the show. We'll truly appreciate if you like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be coming up with these weekly episodes every Monday. So we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.